James, one of the films we mentioned very briefly, I think, in our Oscars roundup a few weeks ago was Noah Baumbach's new film, White Noise, which I think is coming to Netflix soonish. You went to the press screening of that, the one you were able to
The one I was able to go to.
What's going on?
Yeah, it's so Noah Baumbach is sort of in another Netflix-style partnership, and I think it's interesting because he's coming off the huge success or critical success of Marriage Story, and what I assume has been whatever Netflix values as a commercial success in terms of how many people watched it. It got lots of awards, and this is based on Don DeLillo's novel of the same name, and it is the first Noah Baumbach film to not be based on his own screenplay. It's based on the novel, so you've got this sort of slightly interesting new territory for Noah Baumbach, and it's his highest budget to date, with $80 million. Which again, like coming off that success, I can sort of understand why. And I think like when I saw the film, you can see this is an expensive movie. Oh, really? There's like a lot of places and crowds and people and different things going on, and it kind of looks like it costs a lot of money. Is that interesting? Just thought it was worth an observation compared to what he's doing before. And it stars Jack Gladney, who's played by Adam Driver. And I think what's interesting about this film, you've seen the trailer, haven't you?
Yes, it seems kind of wacky.
Yeah, because I think to look at the trailer and try and decide that this film is about one thing would be a huge misrepresentation of what this film is doing. And I think the fact that it tries to make you think about it, the fact that it tries to do so many different things is part of its genius, and also I feel part of what slightly lets it down a bit. I think there's no arguing that this film is ever so slightly distracted, but when you really finish this film and take it as a whole, I realize, is that kind of the point and what it's trying to do? But whether or not it succeeds at doing that, I think will be between different people and how they interpret the film. What you've kind of seen from the trailer is that Adam Driver lives with his wife, played by Greta Gerwig, and they have 4 children from 3 different managers. And it's very sort of typical Noah Baumbach style dialogue, where it's sort of very overlapping, and these kids are all like wonderfully intelligent and precocious, and they're obsessed with digesting the news and testing each other's information. And it's really sort of like familiar, cozy, family style dialogue. And what happens is there is a chemical explosion. This is one of the things that happen in the movie. That happens outside their very small college town, and it's set in the 1980s. And it forces this whole series of events that means they have to sort of evacuate the town and go into this quarantine zone. And again, the plot will sort of run through you. And look, White Noise is filled with interesting observations about Americans seeking solace from their impending death and their morality in consumerism. Right? This is all. I'm trying to service talk about it, and it's all about everyone's impending death and the dumbing down of public information. A lot of territory which we could say actually is quite relevant to our very modern
and also
concerns.
Territory covered in a completely different way in Don't Look Up, right?
Yes, yeah. I guess you actually could make some similarities about this. And there's this a lot of scenes where people are watching the news and, they're calling it this now. Oh, we have to start using this term. Well, if they use that term, that is politicized. And you can tell there's almost impossible to ignore like post-COVID rationalization of the news. And it exists in a Noah Baumbach style of being ever so slightly strange and heightened dialogue style, both in the tone of its story and in the delivery of its actors, which I think works. And I think it is intentionally over intellectual. And Adam Driver plays a professor who specializes in Hitler studies, and he's friends with Don Cheadle, who's he studies Elvis Presley, and they give these like wonderfully overacted seminars about Hitler and Elvis and how they actually might have been linked, and it's almost holding up this really like satirical mirror to like the over education of our universities and how you can just be a specialist in anything. But what's funny about him is that he doesn't speak any German, and he's a professor of Hitler studies, but he doesn't want anyone to know, so he takes German lessons in private. And like that's kind of where like the first part of its like mirror that it holds up to society, then you get the whole sort of chemical reaction. And I think what makes it special is that the film is called White Noise, and it throws a bunch of distractions at you to make you think about all of these different things that are going on, when really at the core, is a family and a relationship. And what happens is you become so distracted by what's happening in front of you that actually something that's really quite profound and quite heartbreaking is happening through the entire film. And what it does quite well is it allows that drama to almost sneak up on you, and you realize towards the end what really is the core that keeps this film moving forward. That being said, it is a really uneven film.
Okay.
It moves into a War of the Worlds-esque pastiche of Spielberg's 1980s like adventure film with sequences where like the family are in the car driving away from the thing, and you're like, okay. In the sort of almost the third act, it goes into a revenge-style noir thriller with murder and like you kind of have to see it to believe it. And I know this is intentional. So for me to sit here and be like, this is an unbalanced movie, I think almost is a bit wrong. Because I think that's what it's meant to do. Whether or not that actually serves this film properly, I totally think is up for how what you bring into it. I had such a great time with the film while I was in there, and Adam Driver continues to be one of the best actors around. And I think Greta Gerwig it just does such a brilliant performance, and their style and their sort of almost on the verge of overacted comedic tone that they battle between. It really does work, and I think in lesser hands it could have failed. And I feel kind of middling about it. I'm like I had such a great time with it, but I also do feel like the format which it used to sort of sneak up on you, I feel like might be slightly flawed.
Okay. How did everyone else in the screening react to it as well? Were they laughing?
People were laughing. It's a funny film. Everyone was laughing. Like there are a lot of times where I found it really funny, and a lot of these like sort of very more modern contrasts to our own society, I think work, and it never felt cheap to be taking those kind of points.
Okay. So not to anticipate, obviously, or overthink about how this is going to be consumed, but I mean, I think this doesn't come out till like December time.
I think it's close.
I wouldn't be surprised if a load of people don't click with it.
Totally.
But it sounds like if you're willing, if you know Noah Baumbach well enough, and are willing to stick with it enough, there's probably just about enough in there for you to enjoy.
Yeah, I think you could enjoy the ride, and I think at the very end you might. I think I came out and I was like, what is this trying to say, and what is it about? Because you've changed genre on me so many times.
Yes.
And like I almost like the film is trying to do. It's literally trying to distract you by format. Like White Noise is the title of the film. So I was almost like, hang on, like what is this trying to do? And I think it was trying to like really bring you over to a sort of slightly sad central problem that it had. And it's enjoyable but slightly flawed.
Okay. I really like Noah Baumbach's stuff.
Someone else could very much say I think it's genius. I think what it does is really great at subverting your expectations, and I'd be like, you know what, fair, but I'm a little bit off on it.
Okay, but also if someone was incredibly harsh on it, you'd probably say, you're probably missing a couple of good things in there, right?
Yeah, probably.
I really like Noah Baumbach. Love Marriage Story. I like Kicking and Screaming. I like a lot of his stuff, and he's someone I look to now as like you're like a successful independent director. You're not. I mean, he's working for Netflix, not independent, but I meant that like you can make the film that you kind of want to make.
Yeah.
I look at you know he's been around for 20, 30 years. Someone like Wes Anderson as well. Like you can go and make your film.
And I think that's what's happened, by the way. I think like
with Netflix.
off of Marriage Story, it was like, please feel free to go and do what you like.
Stories actually was his first.
Oh, sorry.
Thing, which is a less a Baumbach film, I have to say. But exactly. This is his third film for Netflix. He clearly had a deal, and it's like you go off and make Noah Baumbach pictures for middle class Americans to watch.
100%.
Great. I look forward to that. If you guys have,
I'm actually really interested to hear what other people think about it.
Yeah,
just because I'd love to sound off other opinions, and I'd love someone to point out something I maybe didn't think about. So please do.
It might not be out for a couple of months, but if anyone has perchance also seen it, let us know your thoughts. Or if anyone's read the novel, maybe let us know. I know Don DeLillo's famously cryptic to read. Anyway, that's
not read the book.
You guys know the drill. Hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com.